Yo, what's going on, guys? Reversal here, and today I'm going to be doing an updated Dino going first deck profile for post Maze of Millennia. And that's we did get a few new Dino cards, which I'll talk about in this video a little bit, and how I feel about them, what they can do or not do for the deck. This format's in like a weird spot right now because like everyone's kind of just waiting for Phantom Nightmare to come out. But this list is going to be for before that. There's a lot that has to change with this deck for the post Phantom Nightmare format, but we'll definitely talk about that more in the future. But yeah, for this list, it's just going to be just 40 cards for going first. You could definitely change some things to fit more non-engine and like go a little bit over 40, but for this, I just wanted to go for as consistent a list as possible without adding like extra bricks and stuff. So it's definitely flexible to kind of adjust that, but I'll talk about that a little more as I get into it. Before I get started, if you haven't already, drop a sub to the channel so you don't miss anything. Less than 100 away from 1,000, so that's like a cool milestone to hit. So like I said, if you haven't subbed, definitely do that. So yeah, I'll just get straight into it. So 40 cards this time. We got the 1 Misc, unfortunately still at 1. The 3 Ovi, 2 Archosaur, 3 Babies, 2 Petite. I decided to go back to the second Petite just for going first. It's nice, it's just a small consistency boost. And you do cycle through Babies more with the some of the combos nowadays, like with the Lost World and the Ground Xeno. So having another one is nice to have, but mainly it's just because it's a small consistency boost. So like I said, I'm going for max consistency with this build. So and then we got the 1 Kaito. For those of you that don't know what this is pretty much just Giant Rex, but it's a wind. So the one downside is that this doesn't work with the G Golem combos that Rex was helpful for, but that's not a big deal because those really didn't come up as much nowadays anyway. But what this card does is when you summon it, or not when you summon it, but during the main phase, you can add a poly from your deck, and then when it comes back off banished, you can add back a poly from your graveyard. So yeah, that's a thing, I guess. And then it has like a different effect that if your opponent has 2 or more face-up monsters that aren't wins, they can't target this card for attack. So that could maybe come up sometimes, I don't know. But this card can attack directly, unlike Rex. That's another difference between the two, which could potentially come up. But Rex being a big body can also come up to beat over stuff. So there's definitely a trade-off between these two cards. I'm not sure if this card's going to end up sticking around. It might just go back to Rex just because it's bigger and works with the G Golems, but you never know. I could stick with this, but we'll talk more about this in a little bit. I'm very indifferent on this card and the other card that comes out. Then we got the 1 Frost and the 1 Meteor still for the Lars plays. 2 Conductor and the 1 Pank. So these are all just the same other ratios as before. Nothing different there. For the engine cards and consistency spells, we got 3 Product Prosperity. This card's needed, of course. 3 Fossil Dig. 3 Ground Xeno. 3 Lost World, and 2 Pill. So the one card I want to talk about in these that's gonna drastically change in the near future, and you can even adjust the ratios now if you want, and that's Lost World. So this card is still good for going first, despite the reasoning I'm about to give for it not being good going second. But this card going first, it's still a consistency piece. It still can help you play through hand traps. So I feel like for now, it's the fire meta hasn't really like taken over the entire game yet to where you can get away with playing this still. There's definitely, like, right now in this format, you can definitely cut down on like one of these to add a little more non-engine if you want. But like I said, this is just a base build for like max consistency. But going second, Lost World's actually terrible against the fire decks. Because like you activate the Lost World, you summon your Dino, whatever, give them the token. The token's level 1, and they have a card in the graveyard that Dino players should be very, very familiar with, and that is Linkuriboh. So Linkuriboh has the effect that when it's in the graveyard, it's a quick effect to tribute a level 1 monster on the field, and then it actually tributes for cost as well, so you can't even like interact with it either unless you remove from the graveyard beforehand. So once you give them that token, they could just Linkuriboh the token away, and then Lost World's just a dead card. So post Phantom Nightmare, when the best 3 decks are going to be like Snake Eyes, Fire King Snake Eyes, and then like Rescue Ace, I think those would be the 3 best personally. This card is just unplayable when the 3 best decks are all going through this card in their combo. So post Phantom Nightmare, you can't play this card at 3 anymore in my opinion. Even though it is still good going first, I don't think you can warrant playing 3 of this card when it's unplayable going second into a certain meta, which is really unfortunate because this card is correct. But yeah, for now, I think you could play it at 3, or you could cut down to 2 if you want as well. But I still think it's good enough right now into a lot of decks, and like Fire King's like around right now, but it's not really that like great until Phantom Nightmare in my opinion. And then Rescue Ace is arguably the best deck right now, but it's whatever. Like the card's still good going first, so I think there's enough matchups where it's still really good going second to warrant playing the 3 right now, like I said. As you notice, that's it for the spells, and there's no polymerization, and I'll talk about that a little later, but I don't think playing those extra cards is worth it, especially in the main deck. But I'll go through a combo that you can do if you choose to side deck a couple cards at the end. So for a non-engine, playing a little less non-engine than usual, but it's still a decent amount. Playing 3 Fenrir. Fenrir is just good going first, going second. It's slight added consistency with Lost World, since you can go into, if you have like Lost World or Random Dino in this, you could make the Donner and try combo in that way. But it's mainly just there because it's Fenrir. It's just a good card. 3 Ash. This is the only hand trap I'm playing in the main deck. Usually would play like Imperms as well as these, but I feel like right now this format's like a lot lower powered, but the hand traps are kind of like still in a spot where you kind of need 2 of them for it to do much for the most part. And the boards that people are ending on outside of like the combo decks that like try to FTK you, the boards really aren't that scary that people are putting up right now. So I think you can get away with a little less non-engine right now than usual. But that's going to change a lot post Phantom Nightmare. But for now, I think this current format that we're in, it's perfectly fine. You just mainly play just Ash, since Labyrinth is probably one of the best decks right now. Just like I said, it's post, there's the Phantom Nightmare waiting room, so Labyrinth is really strong before that set comes out. I think when that set comes out, it has a little harder matchups with the fire decks in my opinion, but for now, I think it's one of the better decks, especially if it's in the hand of a good pilot. Like that deck in the hands of like a really good player is definitely scary. And then we have 1 Thrust, 1 Talents, 1 Call By. Just opted to put the 1 Thrust in just because it's a little more flexible when you do go second to add you engine as well. And then Talents is like okay when you go first. It's not great in this deck all the time when you go first, but it can be very good, depending if your hand's good enough to rip a card from their hand. That's when it's really, really good. But if not, sometimes just the last ditch effort to draw 2 can end up getting you an extender that can let you keep playing. And then a Call By is just Call By. like I said, this is 40 cards. If you want to fit more non-engine to make the deck a little stronger going second, you can definitely do so by cutting like one Lost World and then going a little over 40. You can even cut a Petite as well. But I think when you're cutting down on Lost Worlds, that's cutting down on consistency. So you do want to add some form of consistency to replace it, which the second Petite adds a little bit. But you could potentially, like, if you're going to cut down on Lost Worlds, like if you take one out, you could potentially take out a Fenrir, because you don't necessarily need 3 Fenrir. Especially if you're cutting down on the Lost Worlds, that small bump in consistency that this does give you gets even smaller when you start taking out the main card that it helps to combo with. So you could potentially take out a Fenrir and a Lost World, and then add like a playset of another like highly impactful going second card or something. But that's all optional. This is just, like I said, it's just a base for like a consistent list. But I think, like I said, you can get away with a little less non-engine right now, in my opinion. So for the extra deck, Xyz, we got Dulka, Lagia, Lars, Dweller, Dugaris, and Typhon. The Evils are, like, obviously you know what those do, they're good. Dwellers are really important in this format for random decks like Tier and Unchained are still around. This card can help a lot going second into like decks like Fire King and stuff that have like a lot of follow-up that goes through graveyard effects. So a lot of times you can wipe their board. If you can't kill them, you could just set up the Dweller, and then that kind of shuts down a lot of their stuff on the crackback. So you don't always have to go into Dweller, but it's a very nice option to have. Typhon's just Typhon. Just if you have an extra deck slot, you play this card. And then Dugaras, you don't really need Dugaras, but it's nice to have sometimes to like pump UCT up to hit over stuff, like towers, monsters occasionally and whatnot. But you don't really need it, it's just like nice to have. Then we got the one Baron for the Meteorus combos and stuff. You mainly just go into this when you start with ground plus a baby, because this lets you go into this in the 3rd summon. So if they don't ash the ground Xeno, you get to do the rest of your combo protected by Baron. So for the links, we got Link Rebo, Secure Gardener as usual. The SP, this card is insane, obviously. It's very good in this deck as well. I feel like pretty much every deck in Yu-Gi-Oh right now needs to play this card for the most part. And it's unfortunate how expensive it is, but I mean, it is what it is. The Donner for the Fenrir Lost World combo. This could also be Cerberus, but that requires a discard, so I think Donner's a little bit better. The one Dark and the one Access Code. Dark, this is mainly for the combo I'm going to show you that's an option post side, but this can also take stuff like SP, and then you could just use their SP plus the Dark to go straight in Access Code, so that's like another relevant interaction. But yeah, if you don't play the combo in the side, that could potentially be something else as well, but the extra deck has a lot of flexibility. And the last 2 cards are the Gigantazowler and the Hornsaurus. And this is another new card. This is the one that when you fusion summon it, you can place a field spell from your deck or graveyard face up in the field zone. And then this also gives you an extra normal summon. So the main reason, if you're gonna play Kaito in this, you don't have to play like the extra polys and stuff. You could just have this stuff in there for when you open Ground Xeno, and then you could still make this through the Ground Xeno instead of the poly. Mainly just if you have like an extra Dino in hand that could help you keep going, like with the extra normal summon, or if you're facing a deck that really has a hard time just having a Lost World token. So like if you're facing like Kashtira or something along those lines, just having this as an option when you open Ground Xeno is nice to have. just to get that Lost World token on their side if it's really hindering their plays. But otherwise, it's mainly just, it's there just in case. It's not really like a focus point at all, because I don't think the extra bricks are worth it. So, but I'll show the combo in a sec. But let's do the side deck first. So for the side deck, as usual, you could add extra stuff or whatever, but this is just like a base 15 to kind of show. 3 draw, 3 nib. These are for like the combo decks. These are just the hand traps that are mostly impactful by themselves, have the most potential to do the most by themselves. Then 3 bells for Labyrinth mainly, but it's also good against Fire King and other decks. The second thrust, and then Duster and a Storm. It's for more targets to go with the talents in the main, and then like your Ground Xeno, Fossil Dig. 2 Cosmic. I think this card's really good right now. Has flexibility when you're going first as well, which is cool. But I didn't have space for 3 with this, but you could definitely make space for 3 as well. And last card's Doggerin, just for if you're facing like Pearly or something and you want to side this in, as an option that you can search out if you really need to. It's always nice to have the one searchable kaiju. So that's it for like the regular side stuff. And then now talk about the other potential thing you can side with the Kaito, which is the Secret Village and a Poly. So there's a lot of different things you can do with the Hornsaurus in terms of like field spells that you could place. But of all of them, I think the Secret Village is the best one personally. I think it has the most value in shutting down board breakers. There's a lot of just spells in general that are prevalent in the meta. So if you're facing a deck that's heavily reliant on spells, this can shut them down. This combo can actually give you some decent follow-up as well through your disruptions. So that's like the main thing. I think it does the most to cover like the deck's weaknesses that happen like generally like after like if you do get to do the full combo. The main things you lose to are like stuff like Dark Ruler and Droplet, Super Poly. So these can definitely help versus that more than anything. So that's why I think if you're going to play extra stuff to go with the Kaito and the Hornsaurus, I think this is the field spell to do. You'll see some people doing like the Diagram, which I don't think playing Diagram is terrible, especially if we're cutting down on Lost Worlds. Like I said, we have to add consistency somewhere else. So adding a Diagram package could be something to do potentially when you're doing that. But I don't think searching the Diagram mid combo is worth like putting this brick in your deck at all, because the combo is not really letting you do much more, and it's really like that combo is really like prone to disruption as well, as is this one that I'm going to show you, which is why I don't like it. But I'll show you anyway, since people do want to see what the Kaito and the Hornsaurus can do for the deck. Unfortunately, I don't think it's really anything special. I don't think it's helping the deck really with its core issues at all, but I'll show you guys what it can do anyway. So I'll just show like a basic OV and baby, just to kind of show you the idea of how it works. So we're just gonna do the normal stuff, normal, the OV, add misc effect, banish for 1, Archosaur, pop the baby, add pill, baby, summon Petite, OV pop Petite, summon baby, Petite, summon Meteorus. So this is the normal spot where you get to in the regular Dino combos, which is where it starts to deviate. So we're gonna link off the Archosaur for Link Karibo, and then we're gonna turn the Link Karibo and the Ovi into a Dark Charmer. This is a spellcaster, which is for the Secret Village, obviously. So now after you do that, you can use Meteors to pop the baby summon your Frostosaurus from the deck, and then baby is going to summon the Kaito. Then you can use the Kaito to add the poly. So now from here, you can use the poly to fuse the Kaito and the Frostosaurus to go into the Gigantozauler. This card lets you add back a Dino from the grave. Let's add back Ovi. So now you can use the pill, banish the Link Karibo and the Kaito to summon a Conductor. And then the Kaito will come back. And then when the Kaito's summoned back, it adds the poly back from grave. So from here, you can use the poly to fuse the Dino you added back from hand and the Kaito to go into the Hornsaurus. And then the Hornsaurus will let you place the Secret Village from the deck. So now you have this board. You can use, since the Hornsaurus is a 6, you can overlay these two to make your Lars. So off just the regular 2-card combo, you end up with the Gigantozauler, which you will use, when you use Conductor, you'll pop this. And then when this is destroyed, it has the cool effect where you can shuffle a normal from your graveyard to the deck, and then you could special summon this card back. So when this gets destroyed, you'll shuffle this back, and then this is going to come back. And then when this comes back, you can add a Dino to your hand, and then you can destroy 2 cards on the field. So you're gonna add back the Petite, and then this is going to destroy this and a card in your opponent's field. And then the Petite, when it's destroyed, you can summon Pank if you need another disruption, or you could summon Ovi to add back, or to add the second UCT. So you have this for follow-up. So that's like a cool thing to get some follow-up potentially, or the Pank for an extra disruption if you need it. And then you have the 2 on-field Omni Negates with the Lars. As long as you keep the Dark protected, this is shutting them off of spells if they don't control a spellcaster. So if they do manage to put a spellcaster on field, like a Diabellstar for example, you can just flip it with Conductor. So it's pretty decent end board. Like I said, it's pretty vulnerable to certain things, like Nibiru would definitely stop this whole thing from happening, for example. But other than that, it's like fine. Like Bystials are like pretty good against it as well. But I don't think anyone's gonna side Bystials in against Dinos, personally. But some decks just play them as engine requirements, so. But yeah, this combo is like fine. If you want to play it, you can definitely play it in the side deck for those spell heavy decks. But just keep in mind that it's a lot less safe. And it does add a couple bricks, because the Secret Village and the Poly are bricks at the end of the day, so. But yeah, this is like the end board you could make if you decide you want to play the extra stuff. Like I said, I would just side deck it just because they're really bad going second. And then not every deck really cares about not being able to use spells that much, so it's definitely something I think you just side in when you're going first if you want to have the option to use the Kaito stuff. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video today. It's probably a little longer just because there's new cards to explain and whatnot, so hopefully you enjoyed, and definitely have a lot of stuff post Phantom Nightmare. Like I said, this deck's gonna have to change drastically, but I think the Promethean Princess is really cool for the deck, especially with the Ashatos combos. I think those get really, really disgusting with that princess, so I'll definitely show those off in the upcoming weeks. And that card can actually help like the base combos as well, but I don't know how worth that is, but it could be worth having as an option as well. But yeah, it's gonna be it for today. Peace.